Basic Education launches Island Gambia, a new era in educational sector. GCCI donates ambulance worth $2.5 million to Malto prison. And NPP not against Diaspora voting, says party's admin secretary. These and more coming on Gambia 24. Good evening, you're watching Gambia 24 News with me, Mariama Cham, and thanks for joining us. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education has on Wednesday launched the first ever Island Gambia, a new era in the country's educational sector. The platform seeks to provide students with the opportunity to have access to fair and quality education so as to recover from the devastating impact brought by the COVID-19. At the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, schools across the country were closed to mitigate the spread of the virus. Naisisa Falls in this report.
The Island Gambia is a 24-hour online distance learning platform that seeks to promote and enhance access to equitable and quality education for everyone in the country. The project intends to facilitate the recovery process of the loss of instructional hours as a result of the long-term closure of schools at the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. The Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, Claudia Nakol, described the move as historic in their drive to providing quality education for all.
This is one of the flagship initiatives undertaken by my ministry in response to our Digital Education Action Plan as enshrined in the Education Policy of 2016 to 2030. In response to the policy, the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education is committed to providing equitable, inclusive, and quality education to all students in the Gambia, both in times of relative stability and in emergency situations like the COVID-19 pandemic that has greatly impacted on the global education system, including the Gambia.
The Minister of Information and Communication, Infrastructure, Ibrahim Asila, pledged his ministry's partnership and support in the process of digitalizing the academic sector. Consequently, the Communication Ministry will provide the avenue to all radio and television stations across the country to obtain direct access to lessons delivered through the Island Gambia project.
I think my ministry will be very effective here to create a synchronized platform system that all radios and TV stations around the country can have direct access to. And all what the MOPSI will do is just to upload this content on that platform, and it is digitally delivered to all the collaborators so that you don't have to have the opportunity of delivering this content face to face.
If Flores Mendy, a software engineer who was part of the brains behind the Island Gambia technology, highlighted some of the routes taken to arrive at the launching.
Some of the challenges are, we have, it's not like one man show, you understand? So this is something that has to be, nationwide. And in that case, you need to be very careful when developing such a platform. So, you need to consult XYZ when it comes to this. You need to consult this individual when it comes to this. So all those things we are challenges. But at the end of the day, they're able to come together and we delivered it, yeah.
Since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, Gambia has been in search of a feasible continuation of teaching and learning from physical grounds to different online platforms. While teachers were at liberty to engage their students through different virtual sites, including Meet and Zoom, the ministry sponsored a coordinated broadcast of lessons through the mass media for a couple of months. With the latest project, It is highly anticipated that with the gap of access to quality education between students in rural settings and their mates in the urban areas might be closed with the second phase of the Island Gambia in a complete offline version. As of the launching date, up to 100 video lessons have been uploaded on the Island Gambia platform, with more learning materials in the pipeline. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
And the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry GCCI has on Wednesday donated an ambulance worth $2.5 million with fuel coupon worth $100,000 to the Gambia Prison Service. The gesture, according to GCCI, is part of efforts meant to promote and institute a platform of genuine reform in the prison system and the rule of law. Binta Jallo reports.
After decades of neglect and misuse, the infrastructure and assets of the prison service are in a state of dilapidation. Some say in order to improve inmate care, the prison service must invest in infrastructure, assets, and asset management. The Mile 2 prison has over the years lacked proper medical center and ambulances. GCCI has, however, stepped up to provide the country's main correctional center with an ambulance worth $2.5 million. The Deputy Director General of Gambia Prison Services, Modu Jaju, described GCCI's intervention as timely, adding that it will help in improving a better health services for over 400 inmates.
Currently, there are no ambulances in Joson Prison Camp and Janjambure, whilst Mile 2 has an old one. The old ambulance in Mile 2 prisons is overburdened and pressures of providing paramedic services to both Mile 2 and Joson prisons. Therefore, the acquisition for an ambulance for the prison is long overdue and will go a long way in improving the provision of health services to the prisons.
The president of GCCI, Idrissa Mas Job, outlined the purpose of the donation.
At the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, GCCI realized that our prisons, together with the hospitals, are the worst and most vulnerable places in the country. Hence, in the spirit of true generosity, we focused our material and financial contribution to helping these two institutions. Our efforts were directed not only to regulate the distress and provide the much-needed relief in times of confusion and uncertainty. Our efforts were meant to promote and institute a platform of genuine reform in the prison system and rule of law.
According to him, prisons are not isolated from the society and prison health is public health. He added that the ambulance will further strengthen the agenda of equivalence of healthcare, saying that the right to health is a principle that applies to all prisoners who are entitled to receive the same quality of medical care that is available in the community. The vast majority of people committed to prison and the prison guards and their families interact continuously, making prisons the reservoirs of the seas. Gambia's Central Prison has never been a high-standard correctional center, but many argued that things became worse under the 22 years rule of former President Yahya Jammeh. Mile 2 was built by the British colonists in 1920 in a swampy area infested with mosquitoes and mangroves. Situated along the Banjul Highway, the prison has 3 areas: security wing, main yard, and main wing. For iAfrica News, Binta Jallo.
Now, the Executive Director of Gambia Participate, Mar Nyang, has commented on the verdict of the Supreme Court of the Gambia that declared the $54.4 million loan scheme for parliamentarians as unconstitutional. The ruling came after Gambia Participate and the Center for Research and Policy Development filed a legal suit against the National Assembly. Speaking to iAfrica TV, Mr. Nyang highlighted the importance of the victory. More in this report.
The National Assembly members have allocated a staggering sum of $54.4 million as a loan scheme for themselves in late last year. The loan move came after a nominated member of the parliament, Yakumba Jete, said they needed a loan and they had the powers to take loans for themselves. In January 2021, the Gambia Participate and Center for Research and Policy Development filed a lawsuit against the National Assembly, demanding that the highest court of the land issue an order that prevent parliamentarians from pocketing the loan of $54.4 million they appropriated in the 2021 national spending. The Supreme Court on Tuesday ruled that the lawmakers violated the Constitution for allocating the loan scheme for themselves. Mar Nyang, the Executive Director of the Gambia Participate, said they are grateful that the Supreme Court fulfilled their wishes.
And one of our prayers that we prayed for at the Supreme Court was for the Supreme Court to declare the action of the National Assembly unconstitutional, number one. Also, to strike away the $54.4 million from the budget of the National Assembly, among others. And today, we are thankful that the Supreme Court answers our prayers or granted our prayers. And they have ruled that any staff or member of the parliament that have used this amount of money, so the government should recover this amount of money, and the $54.4 million should be struck away from the 2021 national budget. And then also their action is also unconstitutional.
Nyang said they will keep taking actions if any of the arms of the government want to violate the laws.
And we are governed by a law. We are not saying that the parliaments are not subject to have any allowance or the likes, but any action. And this is not only for parliament, like I said, this is for our democracy. And this is one of the cases, or one of the many cases that we were activating. We are watching, we are monitoring the executive, the National Assembly, any of these two arms of government that contravene or violates the laws of the country, we will have to take action. Because we have been demonstrating under the hot sun. We've been calling, we've been attacked at some point verbally and in the past physically. But now we have worked towards getting all the way here. We are not turning back to where we come from. And as a result, we cannot elect officials that keeps on violating our laws.
Mar added that they are with the belief that the wealth of the country should be spent in accordance with the law in any way or form.
But to go back to this case, we believe that the national purse of the country should be protected. We also believe the wealth of the country should not be mismanaged. And in any way or form that this amount of this wealth of the country is supposed to be expended, it has to be done in accordance of the law. That's why we have a law that guides how our wealth are collected and how they are expended. So lawmakers are expected not to break law. If you are making law, do not break the law.
In December 2020, less than 2 years before the end of their legislature, Gambian lawmakers raised anger and concern among citizens when they decided to allocate the said sum of the approved annual estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 2021. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
That report by Amindao on the Gambia Participate will take us to a quick break, and we will be right back with the rest of the news. Stay with us.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put in to constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
coono di dem dëkk ba dëkka rawatina ba foofa ci Sénégal pour jëndi daal jeex na fii ci biir réew mi ak Stroll Company sa jaaxle jeex na waaw di leen defar bépp xeeti daal te itam dinay déggee rafet ci ay njëkk yu yomba compagnie bi lee di Stroll dinañ la defaral daala aso bi fekkee ne da nga nekk ci political party bugg nga nuroo leeg say waay ngay dem foofa ca Stroll Company yi daal di la defaral daala bu dëgër baax te rafet moo xam itam da nga am xew bugg sa yére nuroog sa daala demal seeti ñii di Stroll Company te emuñ ci loolu dinañ la defaral sa daala si saasi boo demee ñi nata la nga toog wax leen li nga bëgga ñi defaral la ko te itam di leen defar daala si wholesale wala retail seeti leen foofa sa Suncu Alaaji te nag lu ci gën a neex mooy doomi Gambian moo ko moom teg ci di dimbale ay ndaw pour ñuy am fu ñuy xëyee seeti leen foofa ca Suncu Alaaji ca Kunkujang Johnson boo demee rek di nga gis seen table nga daal di leen dem seeti sa xol nee nga am sa daale boo yàgg mi bét mun ngaa nemmeeku seen website bi si www.strollshops.com wala nga oo ñu si 7473692 wala 7150195 ak Stroll Company sa jaaxle jeex na ci dem beeg dëkk bi ci daala kese.
Welcome back, and still on Gambia 24. The Administrative Secretary of the National People's Party NPP, Mama Jingjai, says the party is not against diaspora voting. Speaking to iAfrica TV, Mama Jingjai says NPP wants the voting to be across the board if people are agitating for the participation of the diaspora. Amanda Ofal sent this report.
Gambians living abroad are anticipating to take part in the next general elections for the first time in history. However, the people of the diaspora have raised concerns after the IEC released its latest electoral calendar without specifically indicating when they will register. Recently, the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Mamburin Jai, announced to members of the parliament that the government did not cater for any budget to sustain the cost of participation for diaspora Gambians in the forthcoming elections. Mambanyik Jai, the Administrative Secretary of the National People's Party, said the party is not against the diaspora voting, but should be done across the board.
But as far as we know, we have our chapters all over the place, in America, in Europe, and in Africa. But then what I do not agree with is people thinking that the diaspora is only limited to America and Europe. Those in Senegal, those in Mali, those in Guinea, those in the African continent, they are also diasporans. So if we are agitating for diaspora vote, then it has to be across the board. For us, we are not against diaspora voting, but it has to be across the board. That's what we are saying. You cannot treat some diasporans more importantly than the others.
Mr. Njai also highlighted the preparedness of their party in the December 2021 presidential elections.
We are really prepared now to go into the December 4th elections, hopefully, and with a lot of inspiration to win the elections. In fact, very soon, inshallah, people will realize that we are up for business.
Despite living away from the Gambia, some Gambian citizens submitted that they are desirous of actively participating in the governance of the country, either in their own rights or in associations with other Gambians. They also demanded to be eligible to the executive organs of the parties they wish to form or join. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
As many social issues making the rounds in the country, increment of fuel pump prices is among the matters that frequently affects Gambians, especially drivers and passengers. Within the span of 3 months, the prices of fuel pump has increased more than $10. More in this report.
With the frequent increase in fuel pump prices, issues of $2 change is sometimes a tussle between the apprentice and the passenger. Drivers are devastated with the situation as they have no idea why fuel pump prices continue to increase, causing problems for stakeholders in the transportation sector. Halifa Jame, a taxi driver, appealed to authorities responsible to always give reasons on the frequent increase of fuel prices.
jafe-jafe bu ñu si jot a am mooy gasoil bi ni mooy yéegee dafay yéeg benn yoon ñaari yoon ba ñetteel ba ñeenti yoon.
The challenge is that the frequent increase will go 1, 2, 3, up to 4 times, but we will never complain. And if you don't give coins to the passenger, there is always a problem. So we'll even curse you, saying you will never make it in life. I'm appealing to the government, or be it the transport union, to tell us why the fuel is being increased, and also to find a solution between the authorities, the drivers and the passengers, as the fuel price increase is always a challenge.
For Ibrahim Abayo, the increment is affecting all parties. He adds that with the fuel price increment, there are no proper roads to use it on.
The fuel is expensive, and looking at it, it is affecting the government, the drivers and the passengers. What I see is that you will buy fuel, and at the end of the day, you will have to use it. Commuters are suffering, and if the government should help, let them reduce the fuel price or increase the fare to $10, because if we want to increase the fare to $10, it always brings tussle between the driver and the passenger. And they are right, because they're supposed to get their $2 change, and if you, the driver, want to seize the $2 by force, then you are creating a problem.
To Al-Hussein Sane, the increment has left drivers wondering about the reasons behind the act.
We, the drivers, sometimes don't understand the reason for the increase in gas oil, because sometimes when you buy fuel and then come back a few days later, you will find out that it has been increased, or sometimes it occurs within a month, and this keeps us in the dark, as we don't know why it is happening. This also causes problem between drivers and their passengers with regards to the $2 change.
Petrol prices has been increased from $47.03 to $52.03, while diesel rose from $46.64 to $50.64. However, drivers urge the government to be given reasons whenever prices go up, as they have no clue as to why the frequent increase of the fuel prices. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
Well, that report on fuel pump price increment brings us to the end of Gambia 24. I am Mariama Cham. Thanks for watching and do have a blessed evening.